No, I'll hang out here.
All
I'm
right.
on location. It's acceptable.
Cool. Here we go.
Okay, Google. How can I support Daily Tech News Show?
You can show your support for Daily Tech News Show by donating to their Patreon. Visit patreon.com/acedtech. That's patreon.com/ACEDTECT.
This is the Daily Tech News Show for Monday, January 5th, 2015. Almost did it wrong. I'm Tom Merritt. Full house today. Jenny Josephson's out at CES in the CES press room. How glorious is it there, Jenny?
I am in the best location ever at the history of CES, which is between the wall charger and the garbage can. Life does not get better than this.
Don't have to get up to toss something away. Everything's plugged in. It's actually, folks, if you're laughing right now, probably is the best situation you could be in at CES. A veteran of CES, who has been many times. In fact, we've been on the same team several times at CES. Mr. Roger Chang, co-host of the East Meets West podcast with myself, and producer of many fine tech shows out there. How's it going, Roger?
Good. I am not sad to say that I am not in Vegas this year. After 12 CESs back to back, I think I've been unchained. I've been allowed to go home.
You get a better overview of CES when you're not there than when you're there.
It is so true. I think people kind of don't really appreciate the amount of hustle that you need to do when you're physically at the either the keynote or on the floor. There's just a lot of running around, and it's a lot of space to cover. So even when I was at the convention floor and I was covering events, I would still be checking my phone, looking at Twitter updates, looking at
I spent most of the time at stages, like looking at the internet to find out what was happening around me. But if you're not concerned with getting everything, it is pretty fun to go put your hands on stuff. And Paul Spain, host of the New Zealand Tech Podcast, is there to do just that. Paul, are you excited about putting your hands on new technology?
Oh, I love putting hands on new technology. Whether I'll get my hands on all of the coolest stuff, we will see. But yeah, I guess I'm juggling my time between, right now I'm sitting in the apartment next to the convention center and doing exactly what you guys are doing and what I could have done from anywhere in the world. But I'll be back across at the various things over the next few days. So
did you get over there this morning?
No, yesterday I was at CES Unveiled, and there were,
cool.
Obviously a bunch of press events on yesterday and today. But a lot of those, as Roger said, are just as easily, or in fact better, consumed over the net than actually being there, spending half an hour or an hour in the queue. And yeah, you actually get a better view of it sitting online in front of your laptop.
Yeah. Well, folks, we're going to condense it for you. That's our job at the Daily Tech News Show this week, is if you don't have time to look at all that stuff even, we'll try to bring you the top stories out of CES every day. Let's start off with the headlines. Dish made waves today, announcing its internet-only service called Sling TV. They'll stream you 12 channels for $20 a month starting soon. But, of course, the star of the show is that they got ESPN. So if you're a sports fan, that's going to be huge for you as a cord cutter. They'll also carry Disney Channel, ABC Family, Food Network, HGTV, Travel Channel, TNT, CNN, TBS, Cartoon Network, Adult Swim. Subscribers will have the option of adding other channels in $5 a month packages, things like Kids or a News and Info package. Streams can be paused, rewound, and fast-forwarded, but there is no DVR functionality. Subscribers can only view on one device at a time, though it does support web, iOS, Android, Roku, Fire TV, Xbox One, LG, and Samsung Smart TVs. Best thing about it is no contracts. And we're going to talk about that in a little more depth here in just a minute. And Gadget reports that Intel unveiled 14 Broadwell series chips, including 13 15-watt processors with basic Intel HD graphics and 4 28-watt processors with Intel Iris graphics. Most of those are Core i5 and i7s, and they're all dual-core. While these chips boost productivity and battery life a little, because they're 14 nanometer, the big gains come with 22% improvement in 3D graphics benchmarks and up to 50% faster video conversion time. Roger, I know you follow the chips scene. How exciting is this for people, do you think?
It's exciting in that now you're getting a lot more oomph on low power devices like ultralight notebooks, which typically you've had to give up some of like, okay, maybe my video won't play back at 1080, it'll play back at 720, or I can only do very light 3D. This is kind of a thing that both AMD and Intel have been trying to push. Have been pushing for, or I shouldn't say pushing for, but working towards for quite some time, and basically combining aspects of both a good, solid 3D GPU and a CPU onto a single chip, thereby eliminating power usage, heat, and of course making things a lot more portable, and ideally putting them in more devices.
Paul, did you see a lot of Broadwell stuff at CES unveiled last night?
No, not really. But I guess the interesting thing here is we've got this sort of arms race that's going on, and it's great to see Intel putting a huge amount of effort in to compete in the mobile space with these newer chips. So, I hope they gain enough market share that the consumers get some good results out of this.
Kind of weird to think of Intel as the little guy providing some much-needed competition in a space, but in this aspect, they sort of are. Yeah. Ars Technica reports Google unveiled partnerships with new audio products that can take advantage of Google Cast. That means you could send audio from compatible apps and websites straight to things like speakers, just like you would do with the Chromecast device, but you wouldn't need a Chromecast device. So we're mostly talking about speakers at the beginning that you could just send your Pandora, your iHeartRadio to. Sony, LG, and Denon were named as partners, but no product details were provided yet. So we don't know when, we don't know how much. LG today announced the LG G Flex 2, a successor to the G Flex, which is a little smaller than the G Flex. It's 5.5 inches. Higher resolution screen, though, 1080p. It still has the curved body and the self-healing coating on the back. Also contains Qualcomm's 64-bit Snapdragon 810 processor, 2 gigs of RAM, and support for LTE Category 6. No word on price or availability there either.
I'm wondering if LG is trying to push into Corning's Gorilla Glass market, because one of the aspects of the phone is, of course, the glass does have a certain amount of give, which is traditionally not what glass does. It's brittle and it will crack or break.
Well, it is Corning Gorilla Glass, but it's chemically treated to do the bendy bit that you're talking about.
So it's I don't know. It's one of those things where at one time it's a really cool idea and it's a really cool device, but at the same time, you have a phone that's kind of bent. Where do you exactly stick it in your coat pocket? I guess you can stick it in a coat pocket. Yeah. But I'm thinking like my pants.
Your body is not straight, Roger. So this perfectly conforms to the contours.
Really?
My people will take this up.
What's that?
Much like the curved TVs. I think there are a few people that are interested in it because it's a little bit different. Whether it's really mass market appeal, I don't think so.
The Next Web has Garmin's announcement of 3 GPS smartwatches. The Fenix 3 supports GPS and GLONASS for location and measures heart rate, speed, distance, vertical drop, and more. It arrives Q1 in 5 different versions, starting at $500 up to a Sapphire model. That's $600. The second one is called the Epix, touted as a hands-free navigation device. This is basically your old Garmin Navigator, but in a watch. Maps, compass, altimeter. That's coming Q1 for $550, or you can get it with the Topo map already installed for $600. And finally, the Vivo Active is the budget model. It's got apps, color display, interchangeable bands, wireless sensors. Also launches Q1 from $250 to $300.
Does GLONASS work outside of the former Soviet bloc areas?
No, and I think that's it's including GLONASS specifically to target that market, to say, hey, we're gonna be selling these in Russia for sure. TechCrunch reports that a company called Gogoro announced the Smart Scooter, an electric scooter powered by swappable lithium-ion batteries. Scooter goes from 0 to 30 in 4.2 seconds with a maximum speed of around 60 miles an hour, has 2 battery slots. Maximum range is 100 miles, although you have to have a place to swap your batteries at the end of that 100 miles. When the scooter runs low on battery power, a smartphone app will direct you to a Go station where you can swap out the shoebox-sized 20-pound batteries. Batteries can be reserved ahead of time, but you don't own them. You're subscribing to the batteries. You're essentially renting your batteries. No cost has been announced, and a battery swapping network that is large enough for a major city is right now more a goal than a reality. But this is all about proving a business model of battery swapping using scooters as the example.
I don't know. It color me skeptical. I don't know if you had the option of saying, like, I have a charging station at home and I can rent out like 3 of these batteries and just have them charging and ready to go, you would still have the network. But I mean, part of it is that you're basically selling charged batteries or electricity in a different form factor, and then prices to be determined. But I don't know. I don't see it being any cheaper than me being able to plug an electric vehicle into my wall socket. The convenience might be there, but
the convenience, you wait 6 seconds. You put in your old battery. They say it takes 6 seconds for it to authorize, go, yes, that's the right battery, it's discharged, and then pop out the new one. So it's a lot faster than filling up at the pump, one would think.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out the use, because most people with scooters tend to be in an urban area, and so I don't know what the average usage model of a scooter within the city limits is, but say you can get you run 100 miles in a day, it would still give you enough capacity to go home and then pull one that you had charging all day and then just slot it for the next day. It just I'm trying to see where the money comes from for people who might be into this system. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too curmudgeon-y.
Paul, are you more positive about it?
Yeah, I'm curious, and I think that it's going to be the price point that makes the difference. Apartment dwellers that don't have an easy place to plug in, but I guess because they are so removable, you could plug them in your apartment and swap them over. It depends how long that process would take, whether that makes sense.
I could see it if you did maybe a collective, like, hey, everyone in my apartment building, we go in on a set of batteries and a charger, and everyone just we charge up and everyone gets an allotment. I don't know. I'm still a little skeptical about the way that they're going to be making money off swapping out or a battery subscription model.
I don't know. Big Jim in the chat room says it's going to be huge in places like Vietnam.
Yeah, I wonder if because it's cheaper to run an electric scooter rather than a petrol-powered scooter, then the variance in that can maybe cover those costs associated with charging.
Yeah. Nokia can make phones, but not feature phones, because Microsoft still owns the Nokia brand from when it bought part but not all of Nokia, but it only owns the brand temporarily. So when I say Microsoft launched a phone called the Nokia 215, that's why. Hope that's clear. It's a $29 feature phone, runs Series 30 Plus. Yeah, remember that operating system? With Opera Mini and Facebook Messenger and Twitter, among several other apps. It's got Bing, Weather, Microsoft apps for stuff like that. Also has a dual SIM model and gets 29 days on a charge because it's a feature phone. It'll roll out first in select markets in the Middle East, Africa, Asia, and Europe this quarter. $29.
There's still a market for those. There's still
a huge market for that. Yeah.
I think a lot of people, especially in developed countries, like, I got my smartphone. This is the future. Feature phones, and it's more like no, power longevity, and not everyone needs to Facebook each other every 2 hours of the day.
I guess we're not far away from when smartphones will all be $29. Well, will be starting at $29 in those sorts of markets. I mean, you can already buy the Lumia smartphone here in the US for $29 as a locked phone, can't you?
Yeah, subsidized, right? Yeah, good point.
So ultimately. And it can't be too far off that, the feature phones will disappear.
I like the dual SIM aspect.
CNET reports Tencent has launched China's first private bank. It's entirely operated online. WeBank is what they're calling it, launched Monday. Although it's the first bank in China not controlled by the government. The premier showed up. He attended the launch ceremony, so it had a little governmental stamp on it.
Interesting, not controlled. I put those in air quotes. I see that as air quotes.
Not directly controlled, should we say.
It's definitely going to be influenced. There's no way. Okay.
The Verge reports Panasonic will release its Life Plus 4K TVs this spring running Firefox OS. No pricing or release dates were announced. Meanwhile, don't confuse that with the launch of Firefox OS-powered Matchstick, which struck up its own partnerships to be built inside smart TVs, monitors, and set-top boxes from TCL and Philips AOC. The integration of Matchstick features Matchstick's answers to Google Cast called Flint. It's an open source protocol that anyone can build with. So unlike Google Cast, where you had to wait for them to allow a product manufacturer to make a speaker that can take audio from Google Cast, anybody can use Flint to do it anytime they want.
Be cool.
Ars
If it
Technica,
works.
yeah, if it works. Ars Technica reports that Sony has announced it's replacing its per-rental remote game subscription service for PlayStation Now with a flat monthly fee starting January 13th for PS4 owners in North America. You can sign up for unlimited streaming access to more than 100 PS3 games like Batman Arkham City, The Last of Us, etc. 1 month subscription will cost you $20, 3 months $50, and there is a free 7-day trial for new subscribers.
I don't know. I'm still also on the fence about for game streaming. Having used the what was the old one?
Gaikai or
Gaikai, no, the one before Gaikai.
Game On? No,
Yeah.
that was a TV show.
I had a model, or we had one in because they were one of our sponsors back at Revision 3, and it works well. But I mean, you really need a decent amount of bandwidth coming and going into your house in order to get the most out of it.
I think that's part of the reason they want to restrict it to PS4, right? Because those are the people more likely to have the more expensive high bandwidth connections.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Another big question mark for me.
The US FCC has a new complaint site, consumercomplaints.fcc.gov, designed to make your complaining a more enjoyable experience. At least that's what I say. They didn't say that. New site is streamlined with helpful information, complaint monitoring. You can monitor your complaint 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Faster delivery of complaints to the people that you're complaining about. The Consumers Union, that's the arm of the Consumer Reports people, advised the FCC on the new portal.
Interesting. I wonder if the FCC will act on complaints about the net neutrality bill coming up.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be taking those kinds of complaints through here. Those were comments, not complaints, Roger. But once they put in the guidelines, yeah, I think you're right. Lenovo announced a partnership with Intel on the P90 smartphone, a 64-bit Atom Z3560 powered device with Intel's LTE advanced modem chip, the Intel XMM. It can handle 150 megabits per second down and 50 up, though the service has to also be capable of that for you to get that. It's Android 4.4 out of the box, unfortunately. Otherwise, it's a 5.5-inch 1920 by 1080 display at 400 pixels per inch, 32 gigabytes of storage, 2 gigs of RAM with a 13-megapixel rear camera. Lenovo also had a bunch of laptops, new Yogas, things like that. Qual and a wearable. Lenovo got into wearables with the E-Ink Vibe Band. The band shows notifications from your phone for calls, SMS, Facebook, Twitter, WeChat, and more, but with no more than 150 characters and can track steps and sleep. The Vibe Band will cost just $89, although a release date was not announced. Going to be a lot of this, a lot of wearables.
A lot of wearables.
Yeah.
One of the other interesting things is with Lenovo, you're not quite sure where they're going to release these products. In a lot of cases, their smartphones, for instance, don't get much of a release, if any, outside of the Chinese market.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many phones they end up bringing to the U.S. market. It's a target for them, right? It's a growth area for them. They've had a hard time breaking in. I remember 3-4 years ago at CES, Lenovo was trying to come out with phones. Of course, they own Motorola now, so that gives them an in. They might not bother with bringing Lenovo branded phones as much.
It's a saturated market too, so I mean, it's very much of how do you fight your way into market share, into a decent amount of market share, not fringe market share.
Qualcomm announced an easy way for manufacturers to make smart light bulbs without worrying about all those crazy protocols out there. Just use their crazy protocol. In partnership with smart light bulb maker LifeX, which I should disclose, they loaned me 2 light bulbs, which I still have. Qualcomm has developed chip design that any company can license. It uses the all-join protocol, which means it can connect to any product in the house that uses the all-join protocol. It's a protocol led by Qualcomm.
The connected home, still reaching out.
All right, Roger, I know you're excited about the Asus. They unveiled an updated line of the Transformer hybrid Windows PCs and some photo-friendly smartphones. CNET reports the Transformer Book Qi series, a clamshell laptop series that detaches into a tablet. $699 gets you the T300, which has the Core M processor and a 1920 by 1080 resolution screen. or $799 will get you the 2560 by 1440. The $399 10.1-inch T100 has an Atom processor, and the T90 will only run you $299, also an Atom processor. All three sizes come into the U.S. in February. No pricing other than what we've got there. As for phones, the Zenfone 2 will run Android 5.0 Lollipop, Intel 64-bit Atom Z3580 processor, quad-core 64-bit CPU, and includes 4 gigabytes of RAM and an LTE advanced modem for $199, available in March. And the Zenfone Zoom with a 13-megapixel camera, which features 3x optical zoom. A photo phone will be available for $399 in the U.S. sometime in Q2.
Yeah, the Zenfone Zoom is kind of really what's got my eye. And if the pricing, and these are the rumors that it's off contract, that's actually really good.
Yeah, they didn't say anything about subsidized or carriers or anything like that. So if that is $199 for a 64-bit Atom processor phone running Lollipop,
I'm in. Was it Panasonic also, mentioned, was it the CM1, their new camera phone or phone camera, basically a phone with a much higher quality lens and of course imaging sensor on it. So I'm wondering if these actually do gain traction in the market, if we can expect to see more and more higher end imaging functionality in phones, because it's kind of been historically, even with the iPhone 6. It's good, but it's not great, even compared to mid-range point-and-shoot cameras that you can get right now. And just to clarify, on the Core M processor, that's actually one of the Broadwell chips.
Good point. Yeah. Do the phones still excite you, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, there's always small changes with the new releases. What Asus is doing with a lot of their announcements seem to be slightly outside of the box. They're trying not just to do exactly the same as what the others are doing. And with this announcement, it seems like they're coming in at a good price point. But what stands out is having that optical zoom in a handset, and it's just not something that's the norm. But it's probably one of the reasons why a lot of us still carry around digital SLRs and other sorts of cameras, because they're the zoom that you get on a smartphone is pretty disappointing today.
Yeah. Time for a couple of pieces of news from you on our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Teen Ninja 3000 pointed out the Engadget story that Google's Nest has announced loads of new partners in its Works with Nest program. That's different from AllJoyn. Pebble and Jawbone are already in on the action, but today Nest announced LG, Philips, and Withings are among the new partners. Scenarios could be things like Nest noticing you leave the house and making sure the LG smart oven is off, or the Withings Aura sleep sensor notices you're going to sleep, tells the Nest thermostat to adjust the temp, or maybe the Nest Protect smoke alarm goes off and causes the Philips Hue light bulbs to flash or glow red or something. Unikey, Uma, and Lutron are also among the new partners with Nest.
Oh, nice. I have Uma. Maybe you can call me when my house is on fire. Hey, your house is on fire. You might want to do something about it.
You might want to leave. You might want to leave the house. And metalfreak called our attention to an OS News post regarding the Intel management engine and how operating systems leverage it to restrict things like screenshots of protected media, possibly unintentionally. The IME is a coprocessor that, among many other things, implements the protected audio-video path. That's an attempt to stop those nasty pirates from ripping content by doing things like using a screen recorder to capture real-time playback of a movie. It also has the side effect of preventing some innocent things like taking screenshots, because the pixels on the screen aren't stored where they're expected to be, and the operating system just shows you a big blank space.
Oh, that is so annoying. That's like one of the most obnoxious things I've ever heard of.
Yeah. And that, you may have forgotten, is just the headlines out of CES. All right. Actually, I want to talk about Nvidia first, because we didn't talk about it in the headlines. The Tegra X1, enough computing horsepower for automobiles. They're calling it a supercomputer. It's the new Tegra. It's going to be available as a Maxwell GPU. It's an 8-core 64-bit ARM CPU, can handle 60 frames per second, 4K video playback, either H.265 or VP9. They say about 1.5 times the performance of the K1, according to a couple of different sites I saw out there. 1.5 to twice the performance of the A8X from Apple. And they demonstrated 2 platforms for it. One was called Drive CX. Both these platforms are for the car. It supports every OS out there, so QNX, Linux, Android. Processes 16.6 megapixels across multiple screens. Its whole deal is that it can turn everything into a display. Your mirror, your dashboard, your headrests, whatever you want can be powered by this thing. And then the Drive PX, which they were super proud of, 2 X1 processors powering 12 HD cameras in real time with GPU accelerated learning to help make self-driving cars more practical.
It's really interesting that I mean, first of all, I'm going to say that's probably one of the most boring NVIDIA keynotes I've ever seen. Can even compare with the last year's where they announced the K1. But it's really interesting in that it's a very fundamental push by NVIDIA to kind of do again the system on the chip, same thing that AMD and Intel are doing, because you doing discrete GPUs, there's a market for it, but it's not as big as it used to be. And if you don't change, if you don't make additional products that you can sell and just rely on selling GPUs, you're probably going to be crowded out pretty soon as more system and chips with embedded GPUs on the chips come online, and you don't necessarily have a distinctive product. I'm very excited. They were very car-centric with that, which is cool. I really, really want to see it in in either an Ultra notebook or like they did with the K1, a tablet, something where a user would be able to kind of access it right away without having to buy into an Audi or something.
Paul, what did you think of this?
Yeah, I'm curious as we see more of this push to smart cars with screens all over the place. This idea of screens in the headrests and steering wheel, and everywhere where you look at sort of an electronic surface. And I guess I'm not super keen on the concept because it becomes pretty expensive, and if our cars become just another gadget of sorts, we're going to end up with all these old gadgets around us, and it's going to get pretty frustrating. You need to replace your car every 12 months. But I mean, as far as the chip's concerned, it's great, and it will help us, I guess, move to self-drive vehicles and all sorts of other things.
Need to take a page from Gogoro's playbook and make the Drive PX and the Drive CX removable. You just go to the station and swap them out for the new version.
That would be good.
It's interesting. I mean, because it is based on an ARM as well as the Nvidia GPU, an ARM licensed processor that they developed. I think that generally in the market you see kind of a push from ARM being just a straight embedded into wider applications, and then Intel coming down from the other end of, okay, we built desktop server GPU or CPUs. How do we take all this technology, take all this research that we've done, and start pushing it in toward of a mobile embedded device setting that isn't just a rehash of a 486, controlling my lawn sprinkler. Or
NVIDIA may be showing a little more smarts than Intel here. And no disrespect to Brian Krzanich, who I think has gotten Intel back on the right track faster than a lot of people expected. But NVIDIA is saying, hey, we know that we can't live on the GPU farm, for the rest of our lives, even in mobile. We need to be trying out new places. And CES is exactly the right place to do this, to make this gamble and say, hey, we want to get into cars. This is what we can do. Car makers, what do you think? Third-party manufacturers, what do you think? And that could make or break, the next market for NVIDIA, essentially. Whereas Intel's still trying to push into mobile. They may be, a year down the road going, we should have been pushing harder into cars. Because they are in cars, but they're not. That isn't where all their attention is focused.
And one thing I just wish NVIDIA did was maybe work with more software developers, like Adobe specifically. I know a lot of if you have Adobe's Creative Cloud Suite, you do realize that a lot of programs like Premiere Pro and a lesser effect After Effects do take advantage of GPU acceleration for a lot of the rendering, and and people might not realize it, but NVIDIA actually sells headless video cards where you just plug into Array and they crunch and render out video for you, or not video, but 3D animations for you. And it's so cool to see a lot of this coming, but at the same time, there isn't a clean stitch between the software and the hardware side to kind of really take advantage of a lot of the power that's rolling out outside of games.
All right, this next story is not going to be as relevant to you, Paul, because it's U.S. only. It's about Dish and Sling TV. We mentioned it in the headlines. But the big deal is cord cutters, want to be able to get sports online. Here's a way they can do it. They can get ESPN legitimately in-market games and everything for $20 a month. Plus, they get all these other shows like Disney Channel and ABC Family and HGTV, etc. Roger, do you think this is going to go over well? Peter Kafka at Recode was speculating if it went over too well that ESPN might pull out, that they don't want it to be too successful because they don't want it to undermine their main business.
Well, see, this is the catch-22 for a lot of cable channels, networks, I guess. They've saturated. This is the thing. In most developed areas, the cable markets are saturated. The only way you really grow is when you start eating market share away from your competitors. And so there are limited markets where you can actually grow and expand without having to spend some serious money on advertising and doing kind of rebates or some sort of value-added stuff. Typically, that's either in Latin America, Russia, or whatever. But this is very interesting. I mean, it's a good push, but at the same time, like you were saying, Tom, it does have the potential of eating away their traditional market share, and that's where the new mindset and the old mindset start running into each other. How do we make our money past the year 2020? Do we rely on just people paying a cable provider to pay a package of shows, including ours, like ESPN, or paying a premium to get our ESPN package that gives you all the NFL, NBA, MLB sports games for the year at a special rate? I like it because I don't need to pay for cable TV anymore. And then if the whole like $5 ad channel, that's halfway to having an a la carte system right there, right? I only want like sci-fi, or I only want A&E, but not History Channel, like the actual A&E channel, but not the History Channel. All the other stuff that typically gets bundled together. I think for consumers, this is a positive. For the broadcasters, for the traditional broadcasters, it's more of a 50-50, but we need to hedge our bets because the way things have been working isn't going to last forever.
Paul, does this actually look like ridiculousness from the outside, or do you wish you had something like this in New Zealand?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think the concept of slicing these things up and making them available online has definitely some merit, and I'm sure we will we'll see other markets sort of follow.
All right. Real quickly, our pick of the day comes from Brent. He wanted to point out a YouTube channel that he's found and enjoys called Computer File. It's COMPUTERPHILE. He says, I first saw it appear when the channel posted a video on how the Heartbleed vulnerability works. They did not want people to use the bug, but showed how it worked and why. YouTube has loads of videos, but these are good. So Brent wanted to give it a plug. That's what this is all about. I don't know anything about this channel, but Brent enjoys it, so go check it out. Take a look at Computer File and see if you like it too. And send your picks to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. All right, Jenny, you've been waiting patiently to show us CES over there. What can you see from where you are, Jenny? I think she may have frozen.
Hi. No,
oh,
I'm
there
back.
You are.
Frozen. I was getting ready to screen share. Turn it around. Ratings.
Oh man, when you turn it around,
Up.
that's what CES looks like, folks. A lot
Right
of people.
there. A lot of people sitting at tables. You see it?
Twitter feed is going to be
room.
covered with those pictures of those carpets.
Now at Mandalay Bay, where the press day is taking place, still building that up, and there were good lines.
We're not getting all of your audio. It's breaking up a little bit. I'm sorry. It couldn't handle the move. All of those pixels moving at once. All right. Well, let's actually go back to what you thought I was going to do next, which is Allison Sheridan sent us a lovely picture, a sound picture from CES Unveiled last night. There are a lot of stuff at CES Unveiled. Paul was there, and as you can attest, Paul, you pretty much see like a slice of the show, right? They have lots of booths from lots of the big names there, correct?
Yeah, there are all the unknowns you've never heard of before, and a bunch of the big names, some of which are I don't know why they're there sometimes, because they don't always have a product to announce. There was a little Microsoft section where they were showing off the Surface tablets that were used in their sports partnership that they've got here in the US. And I couldn't see anything newsworthy about that. What was, I guess, most interesting for me was just the one-on-one time chatting to some of these companies. You'd walk past some of the booths, and they didn't look very exciting, but as you delved in and got a little bit more information, there were some curious bits and pieces. I came away with a Bluetooth connected toothbrush to review for my
classic
4-year-old. So apparently there's a gamification element, and we will see whether that improves his brushing or whether he still needs my assistance to brush in the future. But supposedly that will help a youngster get into the art of brushing teeth.
All right, let's see if Bluetooth can prevent cavities. Meanwhile, Allison ran into something at CES Unveiled that she found very compelling. Here you go.
Hi, Tom and Jenny. Well, CES hasn't actually gotten started yet, but last night we got to go to CES Unveiled, and the coolest thing I saw there was actually in the Lowe's Innovation booth. It turns out they've got these cool robots they call Oshbots, and this robot comes up to you and talks to you in the store. It speaks 7 languages, and you can show it, say, a bracket from a toilet, and it'll scan the bracket itself, figure out whether they have that part in store, and if they do, take you to the part. Well, that was pretty cool. Then they said that if you need an expert in the field that isn't maybe resident in that store, they'll actually connect you with an expert from a completely different store. So that was pretty cool stuff. But then it got even cooler. That stuff they've actually already got out there, but they've designed a way to let you design a room, like let's say a bathroom, using an Oculus Rift, and you pick parts out and tile and all that sort of thing. So they put that on our heads, and we got to walk around in this bathroom, and it was so freaky because the lady's talking to you from outside of the bathroom, but you're inside a bathroom, and there's no walls. It's a very, very strange experience. But the idea is to be able to design the room, lay down the tile, pick out the vanity, and get a full feel of what it looks like. So that was pretty cool stuff, and probably my favorite thing I saw at CES Unveiled last night. Talk to you guys soon, and if you want to know more about this, it's at lowsinnovationlabs.com.
All right, that was not a paid promotion or anything. That's just what Allison found and liked, which does sound cool. Is this the killer app for Oculus?
It could very well be. It's people like to joke that VR has been around the corner since I was in college, and that was like in 96, 97. And I'm not sure if you remember, Tom, because I'm a little. No, actually, no, you're older than me.
No, I'm not.
I remember one of the first things you did was like they put you wore the helmet in the goggles, and you were suddenly in this kind of virtual world with like flying petrodons, and you could shoot them and ride them and all sorts of weird stuff. So basically, a lot of fancy gaming aspects. But outside of flight simulators, people have been really, really working hard trying to nail down an application. And I think home improvement might be it. Now, everyone has an idea of what they want their home to look like, and everyone says, well, I can take a picture, I can relay down new tile, but what if you want a wall removed? What if you want your bathtub gone and you just want a shower stall? What if you want your toilet on the other side of the room?
What if you just want to satisfy that urge to remodel without actually going through the trouble of pulling things down?
It saves. It is one of those kind of very seductive uses for the technology because the market's already there. People want to see what their unfinished, unplanned bathroom, kitchen, living room remodeling is going to look like without having to spend a dime. It's an easy way to do it, and it's even better, especially when you're at a home improvement store, because then they can sell you all the stuff. We got the tiles, we got the grout, we got the tools, you got the sink, we got the vanity, you got everything.
Yeah. Paul, killer app, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it looks like a good concept. Whether it's a killer app, I'm not quite sure. How wide the appeal of it is, but yeah, it sounds good. I'm now disappointed that I stood and looked at the Lowe's Innovation stand and saw nothing exciting and wandered on.
You
Classic
needed to put the
case of
helmet
needing to
on.
spend that time talking with them to actually get the real story. There was hardly anyone around it, and there was nothing on show that really stood out. But there you go.
They needed you to be wearing augmented reality glasses that would have tipped you off to the fact that they had a virtual reality helmet for you to try.
Well, I mean, don't feel bad because CS is very much like that. There's a lot of vendors, a lot of booths that if you're very unfamiliar with their product, you might not know what they're doing or why it's such a big deal. Like Wilson Electronics does cell phone boosters. They make special antennas and power boosters to extend the range of your cell phone from, say, like the nearest tower is a mile away. Now you can reach it while you're driving 15 miles away. And Lowe's last year, they did a lot of home integration, the connected home, like, plug these in and you control your outlets. You can control the lights outside. You control this. They even had one for plumbing, which is great. It would basically proactively I say great because I've only seen the demo of it, but it would proactively allow you to control water usage. For example, it's like, hey, I'm away from home. I can see how much water, say, my kids are using, or how much, if something's dripping or something, I can just shut the water off at the main. It's having something like that. It's one of those big market areas that a lot of people tend to overlook. But once you start seeing how it all plays in together, especially with a lot of other connected devices, it gets kind of cool.
Jenny, killer app or not killer app?
I love anything that has to do with Oculus. Like if it has Oculus, give it to me. Let me wander around my bathroom in a virtual reality. It makes me happy.
They're all killer apps to you, is what you're saying.
Yeah. If it's Oculus, I'm in.
All right, so that wraps us up for this coverage of CES. Of course, things still going on. Samsung's having their press conference. They've confirmed that 34-inch curved monitor with the 21:9 ultra-wide aspect ratio that Darren and I were talking about on Friday. Almost makes it as wide as 243 monitors, so they say it could be good for stock trading. It'd be great for video games and stuff like that. Jenny, what are your plans between now and tomorrow's show?
So I'm super excited for the chance to go try on Belty. Have you heard about Belty?
No.
Okay, Belty was the star of CES unveiled on Sunday, and it is basically a wearable smart belt that tightens and untightens as you grow or ungrow.
So it's a smart Sansa belt.
Yeah, it's a smart shame inducer, essentially. And I love it, and I can't wait to go find it. It's at the Sands, which means the giant Las Vegas Convention Center wasn't big enough to hold everything. So they've got like this whole other expo over at the Sands. So I'm going to make my way over there for sure starting tomorrow.
I think a lot of people may be disappointed when I asked Jenny what she was going to be doing between now and tomorrow's show. I did mean things like, coverage. They might have expected you to talk about Las Vegas and casinos and things, but that's private.
I am going to eat at the Giada restaurant, I will confess.
I'm actually kind of jealous about that. I love her. Paul Spain, thank you for joining us. Of course, Paul will be all over CES. You can find him on the internet. Wait, Paul, what's your Twitter URL? I don't have it in front of me.
Paul Spain.
Paul Spain straight. See, that's what throws me off when people use their real names.
I'm sorry to keep it so simple, Tom. I'll see if I can mix it up a little bit next time. Random letters and numbers.
And go check out the New Zealand Tech Podcast as well. Anything else to tell people about before we let you go?
No, that's it from me. Nice to join you again, Tom. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Appreciate you taking the time out of what I know is a hectic and busy time. And of course, Mr. Roger Chang. You can follow him on Twitter at Jolly Roger. Roger, anything to tell folks about for yourself?
No, I will be on Scott Johnson's podcast Friday, I believe.
The one that I'm on?
Yeah. He just asked
that's
me.
Our podcast, Roger. But
okay.
That's all right. Fine.
I'm sorry.
Now, so you're on Current Geek on Friday, right?
Yes. And,
nice.
I'm going to go off to an ultrasound appointment. So in a couple of weeks, I might have my own announcement to make.
Very nice. Well, your wife's pregnant. That's
Yes.
Is the ultrasound for you or your wife?
For my wife.
Okay, so it's not that big of an announcement.
Well, no.
It wouldn't be like you're pregnant, but you're really close to the due date, right?
I am very close. I've
Well, she
assembled. I've assembled the bassinet as you see behind me.
Someone in the chat room said they have the same bassinet.
Yes, the Graccos are great, supposedly. I don't know. I've never had a baby before. I wouldn't know.
Thank you, Roger. I appreciate
Thank
it. Give
you.
Jen my best, actually.
Thank you
I'm
very
excited
much.
for you guys. And thank you to all our patrons. Patreon.com/AceDetect is the place to go if you would like to help us reach our next goal. We want to bring on Veronica Belmont and Scott Johnson as our next contributors, and a lot of you guys have upped your pledges already. You guys are amazing. We've already asked too much of you, and you're willing to give more. If you get some value out of the show and you haven't backed us yet, and you think we're worth a little bit of value, now's your chance to help us make a goal. So head on over to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. And if you can't, we totally understand. It's not a big deal. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Our phone number is 51259-DAILY. We're live on alphageekradio.com, 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. And you can find our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back tomorrow with a Patrick Show. I'll be named Patrick. We'll have Patrick Beja and Patrick Norton. Talk to you then.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Woohoo!
Woo.
Well, that worked.
You should do
Yeah,
tomorrow's
sorry about
episode.
throwing you. I was thinking, we'll show CES before we show Allison, and I threw you off. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
And then it also took all of your internet away when it was like, what moving video?
Oh no!
Are you using the house internet, or are you
I'm using the house internet because
It's
I'm
kind
sort
of impressive, I have to say.
It's pretty impressive. It didn't like moving around, and once the Samsung presser started, because that's not too far away, it went bonkers because everybody started tweeting, the Samsung presser has started. So, CES.
Yeah, exactly. That's CES.
best thing ever.
What do we got for
Oh,
titles?
I would recommend to both of you, if you get a chance, head over. After all your main coverage is done, head over to the South Hall because that's where you find all the funky stuff.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's
I have a
just like-
plan.
A plan?
I have a plan to divide and conquer all the halls.
It cannot be done. I can
No, it
assure
cannot.
you. Can.
But I have a plan.
I've tried.
Is this a proprietary plan? Can you share it, or is it?
No.
No.
Oh,
okay.
absolutely. I can absolutely share it. My plan is just one section of a hall per day part. Never go back. And then make it over to the sands so I can just look at the belty. Because the sands is where all the little tiny things are this year that aren't necessarily. I think what the South Hall is as well. It's not the big giant things. It's just the fun stuff.
I'm so glad you brought up the belty. I'll be honest. That's the icing that makes the cake right there. Because that is the kind of thing that you don't get when you're not at CES, is that one thing that everybody's talking about in the halls. Did you see the belty last night? I love that.
Yeah, I can't wait. It was awesome.
Yeah, there were actually quite a few cool little bits and pieces at Unveiled, and yeah, most of them probably no one will hear of, and most of them have got a fairly niche sort of application, I guess. So there isn't room for them to be sort of covered broadly, is there?
Yeah,
you may never know about them.
It's funny, CES Unveiled just used to be worthless. I remember I would skip it every year until I think 2 or 3 years ago they redesigned it to be a lot more like Pepcom's shows or Showstoppers, and then it became suddenly ridiculously useful.
It became ridiculously useful because it allowed them to get the serious. I use serious in quotes. Journalists who got CES early instead of just popping in on Monday morning when all the press events were, and allowed some of the smaller vendors to get kind of some exposure that would have been buried after Monday.
Yeah.
typically.
Yeah.
Like Belty.
And also, like, CES is starting earlier and earlier to the point where now there are the press conferences on Sunday, which means everybody has to get here Saturday.
Yeah.
It's growing like just a monster to take over all of Las Vegas.
Well, it's funny
Would you like
because
Oh, sorry. Would you like some titles? Are you at title point?
I am. That's perfect
Sorry,
timing.
Roger.
I'm just there right now.
Would
Hold
you
on.
like?
Yeah, go ahead and go.
Okay, so you've got the nice, concise CES ... CES.
Okay.
CS 803, a proven titler. Tensor guy put between a plug and a trash place.
Nice.
And I really like Eternal Swords, the down low, spelled LOWE on Oculus, which I think is really nice wordsmith working.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if there's anything else down below. Oh, the CES of things. Paul
or Roger, do any of these strike you?
CES of things, but you can say that for every CES, I guess.
Yeah,
that's true.
The down low is kind of funny.
Yeah, you could even title it if you wanted to be all SEO about it. You just go CES, the down low on Oculus. I don't know. We don't care about those sort of things.
Why you want curved TVs, phones?
Yeah.
Your life will be bent. Get bent.
We used curve in the title on Friday, so I think CES, the down low on Oculus.
Yeah, that's a really elegantly worded situation there.
It's poetry, Eternal Sword.
Mm-hmm. So wait, Roger, what were you going to say before I cut you off with the titles?
Crap.
You're going to say crap? That's all?
No, I was going to say something, and then my mind wandered to titles. What were you talking about? You're talking about how CS Unveiled, get there early, complaints.
Oh, yeah, how they put out the CES decorations before Christmas is over now.
Oh, no, I was going to say, like, at 2008, were you at that CES, Tom?
Yeah.
2000? It was dead. There was no one there. Everyone thought it was like, okay, this show's on its last legs. And it's got its second wind. I mean,
that was right after the recession, and that was the year I remember. Like, there was one exhibitor that just didn't show up, and
there was a bunch of them.
There were several who they brought something that was like a sign. That was like, so and so is taking meetings or whatever. But there was one that was just like, nope, it's not there. No sign, nothing. They're just gone.
It just actually feels like there's more excitement now, at least in recent history. Before it's always felt kind of played out. Okay, more TVs, bigger TVs, and now you're getting into things that people like are perking people's ears up again. Like people are like really interested.
I think one of the things I think you guys talked about on the show yesterday was how it is working, like technology is working its way back into consumer things, right? So the excitement has come back to the types of things that show up.
You guys are convincing me to change it to the CES of things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I mean, part of it is because initially, at least for a 4-year stretch there, a lot of the stuff was business-to-business technology implementation. Whether it was Google TV, it was like, all these back-end things that are very important, but, for the consumer-facing side, it's like, what does this mean? And I think some of this is kind of what we're seeing now is the fruits of those kind of endeavors. One thing I've always joked about was after, the iTunes platform took off, everyone wanted to create their own ecosystem. And it was just bizarre sitting through a Samsung or a LG press announcement. They're telling you how connected their washing machine is. Just plug in your phone. And you can tell it what kind of cycle you want, what kind of clothes you have in it, and it'll do it for you, and then it'll update you when it's done. It's like, when I'm in the house, I'm doing the laundry, usually it's a bell or a buzzer that tells you your clothes are done, and generally you just set the knob. It's very fascinating how large CE companies, consumer electronics companies, take a look at some of this stuff and how startups, smaller companies are approaching it because, they don't have a huge legacy of vested products, invested infrastructure that they need to employ. I mean, one of the reasons why TVs always show up year after year after year whether it's 3D TV, LED TV, now curved 4K, is that the margins on TVs are so thin. Like Samsung and LG came in and they undercut all the Japanese makers, and now they've basically got themselves in a position they got to sell more TVs every year, and the only way to do that is to either throw more features or some sort of advancement. I mean, that's why 3D was like such the big thing that never really took off, is because the companies wanted people to buy 3D TVs, upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. We need the money, and now people's like, oh, not enough movies, don't really care. Have to wear glasses. 4K might be the thing that actually bumps people into making that next upgrade.
Can you imagine if TVs were like phones, where you basically were tied into a cable television operator if you bought one, because they didn't want to be dumb pipes?
See,
we don't want to be margins are too slim on TVs. We'd never make TVs if we weren't allowed to monopolize the content provided on them. That would be the argument if that had been allowed. And yet, even though the margins are very slim, we still have people making TVs.
It's Sling TV. I'm wondering how Comcast's and I don't know if Time Warner will still be around. The Time Warners will treat that, because that's like, dude, you're getting our lunch. So
that's why Peter Kafka's remark that there may be a maximum subscriber that ESPN agreed to strikes me as true. Is that's the only way that those content providers could make peace with the Comcast of the world, is to say, look, we promise this won't undercut. You won't see a drop.
I just want fiber. I just want to get rid of cable completely.
I'm going to save this for Cord Killers, but for anybody who doesn't want to watch Cord Killers, I'll probably repeat this then. I think one of the overlooked compelling parts of this are food and HGTV and DIY, because there's two big reasons Eileen doesn't want to cut the cord. One is she likes to watch things that aren't available elsewhere live with the rest of the world, like on Twitter. Like things like the season finale of The Walking Dead. You can buy it the next day, sure, but it's not the same as watching it with everybody else, right? There's also like the mindless TV. Like, I just want to turn on HGTV and watch House Hunters. I don't want to think,
that's my wife's reason too.
There's not a replacement for that until this. Yep. This has those kinds of channels. And ESPN.
Comcast annoys the hell out of me. Other than just being a so-so cable company with, mediocre customer service, they just have their hands in everything. It's just like, we had antitrust laws way back in the the late 1800s or 1900s, for this reason, and it's just all wound back up again. I'm sure I could talk endlessly.
Paul, by the way, you don't have to stick around. If you need to go, please go. I know your schedule might be a little packed.
Oh, no, that's right. I have a few more minutes.
All right.
No, I was quite interested in the discussion. I probably would have jumped in a little bit more. Around that announcement, but I got myself, because I was operating on my laptop on my knee, I got myself on the wrong part of the schedule and had thrown myself off. But I'm quite curious where it's all gonna lead as sort of sports stuff now starts becoming available, on a streaming basis. It certainly makes it easier to disconnect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, ESPN is the dream list for a lot for
Yeah, I mean that'll really do it.
We've seen a number of sports now that have been basically taken away from Sky, who is our main broadcaster of paid content. And I think we're on an interesting sort of trajectory with that, where people will be able to get all the sports that they want, how they want it, without having to be locked into one big subscription.
That's great.
So one of the things that I'm super excited about tomorrow is the drone space, which is they have roped off one area one area of the hall for all the drones, which to me either is going to increase or dramatically increase the accidents.
Oh, where is that? Where is that going to be?
That is going to be my favorite exciting place to go with a helmet.
Oh, I'm going there.
The drone space. I have to look it up again.
Okay, I'll find it.
I
I'll find
keep
it.
like I'm making my master plan, but it's listed as the drone space, and I do think that this year that the CEA is trying to do a better job of being like, here's all the this things and here's all the this things, so that you're not walking through this like complicated jumble of stuff. That because I remember just you just like it made no logical sense and not that long ago, but at least now you're getting the general idea that all the things that you're interested in are in one general area.
Dude. 2:30. I will have to check out because I have to run to the hospital, so to speak.
But
Oh my gosh.
everything's okay,
Good luck.
right?
Yes,
Good luck, man.
That's where the sorry about being late again. I really apologize.
Oh yeah, no, don't worry about it. You were not late. No one knows anything. You were just perfectly on time as far as anyone out there is concerned.
Is it still streaming?
Yes, it is.
Sorry, I was a little late.
No, it was fine. And great show. Thank you so much, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. See you Friday, I guess, on your
Kurt Geek.
and,
Yeah.
your and Scott's show.
I was just
Sorry
giving you
about
shit.
that too.
No, that's all right. All right, tell Jen I said hello. Congrats.
Yes, and Jen and
Paul.
sorry, I already spit. Actually, I was going to ask you something. Not Paul, but Jen. I'll think of it and I'll email you. But you two drink a lot of water. I will say, especially
I
if
know.
you're doing a lot of walking. I'm not sure if you guys experienced the bloody nose yet, but for the first 2-3 CESs, I would always have a bloody nose on the first day.
Yep.
Because it was just so dry.
Absolutely.
And that was
I've
before I
experienced
punched
that.
him.
I know. That's before the drinking, because I didn't start drinking till Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Roger. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you. Thanks for being on or having me on.
Thanks, Raj.
Bye.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jen. Maybe we'll see you about the show at some stage. So
maybe we'll go storm the drone zone together.
Yeah, that sounds fun. All right, we'll have fun. And thank you, Tom.
All right.
We'll
All right. Thanks again, Paul.
Catch up online next week or something.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
And I'm out of the post. Just let me...
Oh, well, cool. I didn't even do show notes because I didn't, so I'm going to do them now.
45 minutes. That's a show.
Wow. That's a show and a quarter.
It is.
The show and a half.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I was super bummed that the Move and the Samsung destroyed the wireless, but it worked out in the end.
That's all right. Not the worst thing.
Yeah. I wonder. I don't think my mobile would be much better, to be honest. Like,
no, it
that's
seemed
what I
like
was
you were.
thinking
Yeah,
was,
it
was mostly fine.
It was only, like you said, it was that confluence of everyone starting the Samsung coverage at the same time that you moved. So yeah, I think it was good. Bye, video viewers. Subscribe. I'm going to start pretending like I'm a YouTube person. Subscribe, and here's my title card. More shows here. Click. Okay, bye.